Oh, Jason. Had quite the ride, haven't we? In fact, since this is the last Friday the 13th movie, just for nostalgia, let's take a look back at Jason Voorhees throughout the years. Ah yes, the original, Jason's very first should have died moment, drowning as a child. Then he grew up, part 2, where he should have died again, when he got hit by that machete. Yes, part 3. Definitely should have died there. I mean, look at that axe wound. Oh, part 4. Yes, Tommy Jarvis actually killed him. Look at that. Brutal. Doesn't really count because it wasn't Jason. Although it was still kind of fun. Part 6. Stopped being dead because a paranoid Tommy Jarvis accidentally resurrected him and now he can't die. Well done, Tommy. Oh, that was a fun one. Jason, an unstoppable, unkillable Jason versus a girl with telekinesis. Then he's on a boat. And in New York. A little bit. Jason goes to hell. Just look at that face. This is the most far out there design yet. And he gets blown up. And then someone feels compelled to eat his heart and gets possessed by Jason. And then he keeps possessing people. And then comes properly back as the hockey mask Jason. And then gets sent to hell with a prop from the Evil Dead. This was a particularly strange one. Speaking of strange, he forgot that he went to hell and then goes to space. And he gets turned into a cyborg. Oh, can't help but love this one. Freddy versus Jason. He remembered he went to hell and was resurrected by Freddy and then fought him. It was ludicrous, over the top, and I cannot help but adore it. And then silence for a whole 6 years, which is nothing compared to the stint we're currently on. It's been over 15 years since the last Friday the 13th movie. 15 Jason-less years. At least we still have the video game. Ah, shit! They are moving on from you, Jason. We must fix this. Make them remember, Jason. Make them remember you.
Make them remember what fear tastes like!
Or at least I'll give it a go by running my mouth off about the 2009 reboot. Starring Jared Padalecki as a man searching for his missing sister. This movie brings things back to basics, with no supernatural elements, and features a group of people in a fancy-ass house in the middle of the woods being hunted down by a much more grounded Jason Voorhees. And what I love about it is that despite feeling more based in reality, it in no way makes Jason any less intimidating. In fact, I would argue that this version of Jason, played by Derek Mears, is one of the scariest iterations of the villain. Utilising skills as a hunter, he takes down his prey with bear traps, bow and arrow, and even gets a throwing axe kill, where he leaves the victim out there screaming for his life so that people will come and help him and Jason can ambush them. Honestly, this version comes across as the darkest and most dangerous version of this character. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love zombie Jason, and that version is technically far more dangerous because you can't really stop them. But I love how much more intelligent this one seems. Like, this is a Jason I can believe has grown up in the woods alone, surviving by hunting and using his killer instinct. And as a result of the more grounded nature, that means the kill scenes aren't as elaborate or crazy, which I understand some of the fans of the goofier Friday the 13th movies might not be able to get behind as much. Now that doesn't mean that the kill scenes in this aren't brutal, they definitely are. Look at that sleeping bag being cooked over a fire. Yeah, that's something you can't knock on the head. Jason does always like a good sleeping bag kill. But for me, I love both styles. I really like the zombie Jason and the more fantastical elements that can bring, especially opening up the possibilities of having him fight someone like Freddy Krueger, because that would not be possible with a grounded Jason. But I do like this style as well, and after so many crazy Friday the 13th movies, it was really nice to get one like this, that goes back to basics and puts even more emphasis on this grounded approach to being a more realistic killer, but not sacrificing how intimidating he is. So yes, I do really like this reboot. And I say reboot, despite it technically being classed as a remake, because it just seems more like a reboot than a remake. It's quite circular, that really, wasn't it? Which is because it doesn't take the original Friday the 13th and just purely remake that one movie, unlike other horror remakes that were coming out around the same time as this, such as A Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween, which literally just gives you a worse version of the movies you already had. This one I find much more interesting because it took aspects from the first few Friday the 13th movies and used those to create a new entry that doesn't look like it was designed to modernise or replace the original for a new generation of horror fans. But instead, this complements the source material and creates a brand new film in the franchise that is not bound by past events. The first few minutes are more or less a retelling of the first movie, which this movie treats as background information, in that due to the negligence of the camp counselors at Camp Crystal Lake, Jason drowned or supposedly drowned to death as a child. Then his mother, fueled by vengeance, starts killing the counselors but is ultimately beheaded. And I think that summarising this in a flashback-styled intro was a wise decision, rather than just remaking the first movie. Because while the first movie is a classic and stands up even to this day, Pamela Voorhees is not the face of Friday the 13th. It is most definitely Jason. So after 10 movies of Jason or Jason-like figures being the killer, making a Friday the 13th movie without Jason wouldn't have felt right. These little flashback scenes are well made, do their job, and look pretty decent. Jumping many years down the line, we have a group of friends making their way through the woods near the old Camp Crystal Lake, and they are looking for the marijuana. Well, 2 of them are. The rest of them are just looking for a nice little getaway and a bit of the old sex.
Have sex with your boyfriend in a cramped little tent.
Friday the 13th rules dictate that that man must die. And die he does indeed, by being stabbed by a pokey through the floor sharp stick. Or maybe some people would call it a machete. You know, I really like these opening kills. The characters are a lot of fun to watch. And the death scenes are quite brutal and impactful. Although it can be said that despite being fun, the characters are generic as hell. But the main takeaway is it is fun genericness. And I am sure it is important for you all to know, this guy found the weed before he was killed to death. No! Also, highlighted movie quote of the day.
I'm not gonna go out there with a boner.
Wiser words have never before been said. I also love the look of the sack-headed Jason, which is a nod to part 2. In fact, every visual aspect of Jason Voorhees in this movie just looks so good. True enough, it is very much a staple of the entire franchise that the designs of Jason Voorhees in every movie have looked really good. So it is nice to see that this movie continued that. As it turns out, this character right here is called Whitney and is played by Amanda Righetti, and she is the sister of Clay, who is played by Jared Padalecki, who goes looking for her. Thankfully to discover that she is in fact still alive. Yeah, despite the intro ending with Jason about to bury a machete into her head, Turns out he has been holding her captive. Why, you ask? Mummy issues. Jason thinks Whitney looks like his dear old departed mother and decides to hold on to her as a keepsake, I guess? Maybe? I don't know. Who knows what's going on behind that hockey mask of his? Oh, right, yes, he doesn't have that yet. Well, he's about to. After the intro titles appear, a mere 22 minutes into the movie, that's quite impressive for a Friday the 13th. We see that Clay is handing out missing persons posters. Then he bumps into a bunch of arseholes, except for one, who he takes a liking to. She dies later. Poor Jenna. Impaled she was. Anyway, yes, bunch of arseholes set for girl he likes, and handing out posters, which is a very good mix of things to have. Lots of complicated moving parts going on in this film. He then hands one out to two other people. One of them to this woman, who is very ominous and says, "You must leave us all alone. He just wants to be left alone." Yeah, but very, very foreshadowy, creepy, ominous. But speaking of creepy, not as creepy as this guy. He hands one out to him. This creepy, creepy man. Well, it turns out he doesn't know where Whitney is, but he does offer Clay some weed. The same weed that this guy died trying to find. Well, actually did find, then died. Which means he went and got the weed. The creepy guy that's still alive. The not dead yet creepy guy, because let's face it, he is going to die, which I'm about to tell you in a minute, if you'd give me half a chance. But you're missing the point. If he collected the weed, that means he's been on Jason's hunting grounds. And Jason doesn't like that. It is the equivalent of watching Sadako's cursed tape. It's not going to end well. But before we do get to see him actually joss it, he starts licking a dirty mag and coming onto a mannequin. Yeah.
It's been a long time, Gina. You remember that special night we had? Remember when you took my virginity?
That's an overshare.
You're still tight as ever? I'm gonna fucking pound you so hard.
Must get very lonely out there. And then yes, Jason kills him, but in the process, he gets his sack ripped off. The one covering his face, not his... I mean, it's not a Terrifier film. He goes to pick up his sack, but finds a better alternative. The way they introduced the hockey mask in this movie wasn't bad, but I prefer part 3. This guy is a forgettable, lonely perv. Shelley, however, will live on in legend. Jason looks quite pleased with his new appearance. He looks like he's about to use his newfound confidence to finally set up his dating profile. Jason Voorhees, looking for love, must be machete tolerant, and look a bit like my mother, and maybe have a beard I can shave off. Yeah, that bit in Jason Goes to Hell where he starts shaving that guy's beard before possessing him still bugs me. In all seriousness though, this is a really good shot. To be fair, this movie is full of cool shots, but this one is a particular favourite. That and Jason on the roof, that looked pretty damn good too. Clay pays an accidental visit to the house that the arseholes and girl he likes are staying at, and ends up recruiting a searching for his missing sister companion, in the form of Jenna joining him on his quest. Okay, I feel like I'm glazing over the other characters, so let's take a moment and explore their intricate personalities. This is Trent, and his dad, who isn't in the movie, owns the house, and he and his friends are taking a break from college to stay there, get boozy, and shag. He spends most of the movie being jealous that Jenna, who is Trent's girlfriend, likes Clay more than him, and having mini meltdowns whenever his friends start messing up his dad's house.
Make yourselves at home. Mi casa es su casa.
This is a family heirloom! This is an outside game!
Don't drive my boat. I'm the only one that drives the boat, okay?
Please, try not to burn down my house.
The rest of them are horny, boozy animals that spend the movie getting picked off one by one. You know, the typical Friday the 13th character roster. Although I do like that they added some extra depth to Clay and his sister. Whitney only went on that little getaway in the intro because she needed a break from dealing with her mother's illness. Clay tells Jenna that Whitney was the type that looked after her mother day and night and only took that trip away to recharge herself. Their mother passed away after Whitney went missing, and Clay knew something was wrong when she didn't turn up for the funeral, so he decided to go and look for her. Previous lead characters have had similar backstories, but I think it's effective here and helps make the audience root for the characters. Jenna, on the other hand, likeable enough, but has no real character development, so she is clearly just a Sam girl and has the hots for Jared. So, those are our characters. Not a bad bunch, and they're all well acted. You could do worse. While they get picked off by Jason's superior archery and superior stabbing skills, and a renegade speedboat, Clay and Jenna go exploring and stumble onto Jason's body dumping ground, where they witness Jason dump some bodies. It is nice to finally see where Jason dumps the bodies. Usually we just see the campfire where they dump exposition, disguised as scary stories about the urban legend that is Jason Voorhees. I'm onto you, movie. I know your game. Our dynamic duo hide from Jason as he takes it out on some innocent canoes. This is why you're alone, Jason. You need to work on that. They make a break for the house, and after staring Whitney down, Jason is in hot pursuit. Meanwhile, somebody broke Trent's dad's chair.
Fuck, dude! You just broke my dad's fucking chair!
My fucking lip!
I don't care about your fucking lip. This is a family heirloom.
He's so whiny. Which, of course, means Chad here, or as his friend calls him, Chewie, because he likes Star Wars? Well, anyway, he must go down to the tool shed in order to repair it.
Yeah, okay. Trent, I'm sorry, man. You won't be disappointed. They don't call me the Wood Wizard because I masturbate a lot.
Hey, I thought your nickname was Chewie. I do so despise spouting the rapid inconsistency of nicknames. Okay, so while the Wood Wizard goes off on his adventure, Lauren seizes the opportunity.
Lady, I'm about to ruin your perfect day.
Shit. Scared the piss out of me.
Well, that's just funny. They go to alert Trent of the all too real possibility of being murder killed, but he is getting busy.
You got perfect nipple placement, baby.
Who talks like that during sex? It's like you're being analytically reviewed. Finally, a perfect nipple placement. The amount of 4 out of 10s I've given. Ugh, can't be doing with it. Right, enough of this blurry nipple placement. The Chewy Wood Wizard Chad guy is about to meet his doom. Because he is doomed. Doomed! It's cool, Crazy Ralph. No need to show up. I can cover for you.
Hey. Oh, this is a man's sport. Even curved to the left like my penis.
Well, now I know that. Jason then kills him with a screwdriver, and he didn't even get a chance to fix the chair. I haven't felt this let down since that time I watched that video, and it ended before I even got to see whether the guy got round to fixing the TV or not. The power gets cut off, so they band together and make a plan to survive.
Lawrence, what are you doing?
My boy's still out there. I'm gonna go get him.
Or they just split up. Horror movies really don't have the best track record with that idea. But hey, let's stay positive. Maybe it will work this time. Oh dear dear. Today was not your day. You tried to save your friend. You split up in a horror movie. You tried to defy the odds. I respect that, but it was never gonna work. No. Still though, at least you didn't get burned alive. It is all about small victories after all. So you're winning! They start dropping like flies. Bree gets impaled. A cop's eye gets a right good seeing too. And then Trent, he almost gets ran over by some random guy. Well, that's not ominous at all. Good death scenes. Certainly predictable jump scares, but they're still good. Clay and Jenna run into the woods back to Jason's lair, not to the nearest town? I don't know, maybe it was too remote. Maybe they hoped to find a car there. But I'll tell you what, or rather who they find. Clay finds his sister Whitney, alive and well. Which means, sorry Jenna, there's only room for one final girl, and it ain't you. It is a really good death scene. I personally didn't see it coming at all. I mean, she even refused sex. Like, what the hell do you have to do to survive these movies now? Become a monk? Alrighty, they have their final showdown. The siblings Miller versus Mr. Voorhees.
Fuck you!
Well, that was a bit much. He only murdered your friends and kept you captive for 6 weeks. No need to swear. Rightio, there's a bit of throwing each other into things. Or rather, Jason throwing Clay into things. And they have the, oh no, Clay is about to die moment. But then they get the upper hand and finish Jason off. Or do they? Just before the movie cuts to credits, Jason jumps out of the lake and grabs Whitney. A clear reference to the ending of the original. It is unclear whether Whitney lived or not though. There was an aborted sequel that would have answered this, but given that it was never made, I guess we're free to make up our own minds. In the original, Alice was in the canoe after surviving Pamela Voorhees' murderous rampage, but Jason jumps out of the water and drags her down. Then the sequel revealed that that part was a dream, so there's some debate here whether this part of the movie was a dream or reality. Personally, I lean towards dream, because it just felt like it was paying homage to the original, and also the fact that this is a much more grounded reboot. And Jason had a machete shoved into his chest, and his head into a wood chipper. So for me it was a dream, but there are valid arguments either way. But in any case, that was Friday the 13th, the 2009 reboot. I really liked this movie. The cast, the characters, the kills, and just the sheer presentation. There really isn't much that I don't like. Yes, the characters are a little two-dimensional, especially the support roles. But like I said earlier, that is very common in slasher movies, and isn't always a bad thing. What I love about horror, and especially the slasher genre, is they are unapologetic. They know what they are. They are there to have a killer kill some people, and they are not sorry for that. It is pure escapism, and having generic tropey characters is fine, as long as they are fun to watch. And that is the case here. Overall, I will give Friday the 13th, the 2009 reboot, a 7.5 out of 10. A good, solid movie, but could have done with more suspense to elevate it up from just being a generic fun-time slasher. And with that said, I can't believe it. After doing my Freddy vs. Jason review over 10 years ago, and each of the Friday movies in the following years, I've finally done it! I've reviewed each and every Friday the 13th movie. To be honest with you, I feel a bit lost. Like, there's a great big slasher villain-sized hole in my heart. What am I going to do next? Now this is gonna be fun. You've been watching Good or Bad, and it's almost Christmas. See you soon.